Hey, how you doing? Today I want to give you empirical numerical evidence for the Most High God. You know, language is completely variable. Most of the religions today seem outdated because they're based upon cultures and language that is really old, that, well, ultimately are irrelevant. Why? Because culture and language are like a glacier. You stand on top of a glacier and you're like, gosh, this thing isn't going anywhere. But then you come back like 10 years later and it's totally moved and shifted. Why? Because in the periphery, the glacier is always moving. Well, every language, including English, the one I'm using, is always ever so slightly changing and shifting. Numbers are different. Numbers are invariable. 1 plus 1 has always been 2. 2 times 2 has always been 4. The reason why I'm able to say that God is the same today, yesterday, and forever is because God is but one. He is invariable. He does not change. He is the invariable field. He is the kingdom that cannot be shaken. Why? Because God loves to do new miracles. Have you ever been around town and you see like one person and you see another person like with them and you're like, wait, are they a thing? And then you're like, well, no, that can't be. And then you see them again and you're like, wait, Bill and Susan? Like, Bill? Really? And then you see them again and you're okay, they've got to be a thing. There's something going on here. Well, I gotta tell you, I've been reading the Bible for my whole life, and I've noticed a couple. Yeah, a match made in heaven. 12 and 7. Today I want to talk to you about these two numbers and their relationship together. How the number for 12, which is the number for governance, is always intended to serve and give life, which is the number 7. At the beginning of this video, I want to take a look and observe. As I said, this is empirical. I want to observe how 12 and 7 are repeatedly coupled together in the Bible. And then I want to shift gears and show you how, whether you look at yourself, your body, or the solar system, or the earth, or the ocean, music, wherever you go, wherever you point to, 12 and 7, well, seem to be a couple, which to me points to the reality, firstly, of God's existence, and secondly, not of any God's existence, but the existence of Yahweh, the God of the Bible. So without further ado, here's the match made in heaven, 12 and 7. So the Bible begins with the creation story of 7 days. And those days are divided into evening and day, 12 hours AM, 12 hours PM. Then what we see unfold is the story of Israel. Now, Israel would have 12 sons. Those 12 sons would war against the 7 nations of Canaan. And their type of warfare was different from any other type of warfare. You see, they would enter the promised land, and the very first thing that they would do is they would place 12 stones by the River Jordan. And then they would proceed to walk around Jericho for 7 days. And on the 7th day, they would walk around 7 times, and with 7 trumpets and 7 Levitical priests, they would blow and they would shout, "The city is ours," and the walls came coming down. Once they were established in the promised land, those 12 sons of Jacob would divide the land into 7 different parts. They would set up a tabernacle, and at the heart of their worship was something called the Ark of the Covenant. In that ark were 10 commandments, Aaron's budding staff, and an urn. That is 10 plus 1 plus 1. There were 12 items in the Ark of the Covenant. Outside of the Ark of the Covenant was the candle called the menorah candle, holding 7 lights illuminating the Ark of the Covenant, holding 12. The Levitical priests would also bring in 12 showbreads and cycle them every 7 days. I want you to notice that at the heart of the worship of Yahweh, 12 and 7. The Israelites were in the desert for 40 years wandering, looking for the promised land. It would be 480 years or 12 cycles of 40 until Solomon would have the honor of building the temple of God. It took them 7 years to build. When it came to judging kings and nations around them, the 12 and 7 pattern is seen there as well. There's a guy named Nebuchadnezzar who has this dream of a tree of 7 periods. Well, 12 months later, that dream would come to fruition and he would be dispelled for 7 years. Once we come into the New Testament, Jesus chooses, of course, 12 disciples. The church would choose 7 men of hospitality. On the last night of Jesus' death, he washed 12 disciples' feet. On the last night prior to his ascension, he revealed himself to the 7. When Jesus fed thousands of people, the gospel writers record this unique detail that in the feeding of the 5,000 people, there were 12 baskets left over. But in the feeding of the 4,000 people, there were 7 baskets left over. The church age, again, begins with the 12 apostles and concludes with the 7 years of tribulation. The Bible is made up of 66 books. 6 plus 6 is 12, but it has 7 general sections. We have the law, the prophets, the writings, Gospels, Acts, epistles, Revelation. The first book of the Bible is written to the 12. The last book of the Bible, the book of Revelation, is written to the 7 churches of Asia Minor. When it comes to Christmas, the Western Hemisphere celebrates Christmas for 12 days. The Eastern Orthodox celebrate Christmas on January 7th. In my opinion, one of the pinnacles of the Bible is the reveal of the New Jerusalem, which has 12 gates and 12 foundations. And at the heart of the New Jerusalem is the Lamb with 7 eyes and 7 horns. So obviously the Bible has a lot to say when it comes to 12 and 7, but I get where some of you are at. Okay, who cares? I don't read the Bible. I don't care about the Bible. Well, let me talk to you for a moment about our biology, astronomy, and just your surroundings. Again, we're looking for empirical evidence, things that we can observe. Let's begin with the body. You know, your core is composed of 12 vertebrae that sprout 12 ribs on your right and on your left. Now those ribs come around and they collapse together in your sternum and they meet in 7 places. So the core strength and protective nature of your rib cage is based upon this balance and this relationship of 12 and 7. Not only is there a 7 in the front, but there's also a 7 on top. You have 7 cervical vertebrae that are holding your head right now. When it comes to the calendar, we have 12 months giving life to 7 days of the week. This next one is a really big one. If you have somebody playing on a piano and just hitting notes and stuff like that, it's going to be pretty annoying pretty quickly. But the moment that they begin playing in a rhythm of 12 and 7, according to harmony, guess what? It becomes pleasing to your ears. Now, luck is not out of the scope of 12 and 7. The highest number for 2 dice, of course, is 12, but the most commonly rolled number, 7. This next one is really big as well. It's the ocean. The ocean is made up of 7 different layers, different pressures giving way to different life forms and different plants. The ocean at rest is governed by frequencies of 12. Like if you're ever sitting on a boat and the ocean is at rest, it is sitting at the governance of 12. If it goes anything higher than 16, we're talking about storms. Interestingly enough, when that water comes to give nutrients and minerals to the land, again, to give life, the largest distorted waves, when they come towards the shore, they collapse. And just like dice, most times they give forth life in frequencies of 7. Next time you're at the beach, go ahead and stand there. The 7th wave normally is the strongest. Let's talk about our solar system. Did you know the sun has at its equator a 24-day cycle? The sun turns just like the earth. And not only that, but the diameter of the sun is 14 million kilometers. So get this, we have 12 and 7, 12 and 7. And the diameter of the earth is, you guessed it, 12,700 kilometers. Our Indo-Arabic numerical system, of course, begins with the numbers 1 and 2. And then following those 2 numbers, we have 7 additional numbers, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3 times 4, of course, is 12. 3 plus 4 is 7. Continuing with the body, your heart, which is the circuitry of your body, and I'm going to argue it is the 7 of your body, always weighs 1/12 in comparison to your whole body weight. Now, why would I say that the heart is 7? Well, the heart beats in frequencies of 7, just like the ocean. The 7th heartbeat is ever so slightly stronger. And the reason why that is because 7 is the preferred number when it comes to circuitry in nature. Whether it be color, purple, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, and then God doesn't create another color, he goes back to purple. whether it be the week, Monday through Sunday, the number for circuitry normally is the number 7. In fact, when it comes to the literal circuitry of technology, the number 7 is ubiquitous. You go ahead and look at your grip. Again, the circuitry or the circle of your grip is composed of 7 different portions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But the more tactile portion of your grip is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So while you're pointing at everything, the thing that you're pointing with submits to the pattern of 12 and 7. Okay, let us now go back to the beginning of this video where I said that I was going to give you empirical numerical evidence for the existence of God. It is clear to me that the Bible is pretty infatuated with the numbers 12 and 7. And from my observation, time, music, the ocean, our solar system, the diameter of the earth, the body, and I've probably missed a ton of them, all confirm the relationship between 12 and 7. Now, I told you that I was going to ask you a question at the end of this video, and here is the question. What is the thing that is giving forth the pattern that is so observable? In the same way that if you've traveled the world and you've seen different mountainous regions, some of the mountains that you've seen have been very sharp. Others have been low, hill-like, right? And those mountainous patterns are determined by what? They're determined by unseen behavior of the tectonic plates. That is to say that there is a behavior of a realm that is unseen. And it's called the tectonic plates. Some of the plates are pushing up, others are ripping apart. And those patterns underneath us determine the observable patterns that we see. And so my final question to you is this, is what is the thing that is causing the patterns repeatedly over and over and over again? My answer? The rainbow. The rainbow. Light. And here's the biggest one. Light orients itself in patterns of 12 and 7. You see, the rainbow is not a half crescent or even a tiny little crescent. No, the rainbow, when seen in its fullness, is a full circle. It's actually really special, and it may apply a lot to your life. You know, God, when He looks down on the planet, He sees the full picture. You see, a rainbow can only be seen in its fullness from above. I learned this recently where here in Vancouver in November, we had some biblical weather. Flooding, fires, double rainbows. And one of the things that happened is that our news helicopter for global news happened to be above the rainbow when one of these double rainbows came out. And guess what happened? It caught the fullness of the rainbow. It is a full circle. Notice that when Noah got off the ark, he was on top of the mountain, Mount Ararat. And when God showed him the covenant of God, it was seen in its fullness, a full circle, 360 degrees. Now, 360 degrees divides exactly into 30 different ways. Now, the rainbow, of course, gives 7 emanations of light. Notice that the rainbow is governed by 12, but gives life in sequences of 7. Circuitry of 7. Now, the rainbow is very special to Christians. Why? Because it is, first of all, the covenant of life given to man. And it is the thing that God clothes him with in heaven. Remember I was talking about how the patterns of this world are determined by realms unseen? Well, the Bible has a lot to say about realms unseen. And one of those realms is the great white throne, which has been seen by various different prophets and apostles throughout human history. And one of the things that these men say is in common is this, is that God clothes himself with a rainbow. It says that he was all around God was a rainbow. What I find interesting is that kings would sit on a throne, especially in the ancient world. They would have either a map or statues showing their domain, what they are in charge of. Well, Yahweh of the Bible, his throne, what he has is no statue, no map, but a rainbow. Why? Because what we actually exist in is exactly that, light. Light is the foundation of life. The days of creation begin by, let there be light. Then the second day, God said, let them divide the waters. Notice that a rainbow is divided, spectrum that are mirrored together, a double rainbow. James says, well, life is but a mist. A very simplistic statement. You want to know the quantum realities and specifications of life? Well, yeah, it's like a mist. What's mist? A little light and a little water. You see, I've come to believe that what we actually exist in is in the covenant of God, the rainbow. And it determines everything around us. This is empirical evidence, not only of God's existence, but also, I believe, of our quantum reality, that all of us fundamentally come from light and water. And God is the God of light and water and of life. There's a few ways that I apply this information to my life, and it's this, is that, well, the number for governance is 12. And the purpose of governance is not to boast one's ego. It's not to lord over those you reign, but rather it's to collapse oneself. Just like the waves of the ocean collapse themselves and give forth life in sequences of 7, you and I are actually called to make less of ourselves and make much of Him. And as we do that, guess what's released from us? Life. So a question for you today to ask is, first of all, is this enough evidence for you to believe in the Most High? And secondly, how are you governing your life? Are you governing your life towards... Oh, kids are home. Talk about governance. Hey, Brandon. May God bless you guys. I hope you have a great day, and I do pray that you put your trust in Jesus.